Yes, I just want to clarify something, and I don't want you to think I'm trying to attack you or anything like that.
And I'm fine with all the questions.
I do think sometimes we say it's a black seat, and it's not really what we mean. It's one of those words, like things that we say. The purpose of those seats are not for them to be black seats or Hispanic seats. The point of them is if you have enough people who have a certain ethnicity, then it gives them an opportunity to have representation because they haven't historically always been able to have representation. If you're in West Texas, you're not going to probably have 50% African American, or maybe even 30% African American. But like, for instance, where I am, I have a black Republican Party chair. But where my seat is, it was created so that black people who historically have not always had the right to vote, always had a way to participate. It was a way so that they wouldn't be gerrymandered. It was to make sure that we were able to speak for ourselves. Just like, no offense when I say this, you would never want me to walk into your doctor's office and say, oh, I can speak for her. Let me tell you what's wrong with her, mansplaining, or talking about what I think about what you need as a person, because you should be able to do that for yourself. There are minority opportunity districts where someone is not black. They could be Hispanic representing it. But again, sometimes we misphrase that. And I know sometimes people say we hate talking about race. And I do understand that, but I think what people have to understand is if a majority of minorities are telling you that they feel consistently that the race conversation is brought up without people even realizing that they're doing it. Like, one thing that I'm gonna speak for me that's offensive is when people say, oh my gosh, you're so tall, do you play basketball? Because that's them saying, oh, well, because you're tall and you're black, you must wanna play basketball. I hate sports. Hate them. I'll go, it's fun. I like fashion, shopping, different things like that. That's me. But when you say those kinds of things, it generalizes us into a pocket. Or when you say, oh, wow, your hair is so nice, where did you get it from? My head. Those are the kind of things, or can I take those things that seem innocuous to a lot of people are deeply hurtful, because there's a whole past of why that became horrible for us. I don't think there's anything wrong with people who are, I love Representative Pearson. She's a black Republican. I have nothing against her being a Republican. But those seats are not necessarily for a black person or a Hispanic person only to represent them. Again, it's for us to be able to have a voice, because we have not often been able to have a voice. And if there wasn't someone like me here in a district like this, I wouldn't be able to explain to you why those seats are so important to us, and why, and it's not the seats, why that ability to have that representation is so important to us. And lastly, in short, because tell you this, the beach that I swim on, the beach that I go to a barbecue on, that beach is where one of my great-grandmothers on my grandmother's side was sold as a slave in Sabine Pass, and I live 24 minutes from there. She was sold from that beach to Marksville, Louisiana, and by the grace of God, somehow we came back, and here I am in this seat in East Texas.
Yeah.
So it's important for us, because it gives me the ability to say my grandmother was a slave, and you can't say your grandmother was sold on the shores of Sabine Pass during slavery, because they didn't have
other stories that could also share.
But see, that's the point, is we can't conflate them and make them the same, because that's not the reality.
Okay.
An indentured servant is not someone who was stolen from a different place and then sold into slavery.
Yeah.
Both of them are bad,
and
but one of them is very, no, and I know you're not trying to be offensive.
The reason that I'm saying that is because I also believe, because of my upbringing, that if we sit in that victimhood of being that, you can be a victim or a victor. You can pull yourself up. I understand there's hurts, past hurts, things like that, and I would never assume that I could understand what your family went through in that. Neither could you assume that my life experiences are what
And I'm
make
glad you said
me.
that one part, because I want to say this. This is something really important for people to understand when black people talk about slavery. and people say, we don't know why we have to keep talking about it, this or that. A Jewish person, when they talk of the Holocaust or they talk of slavery and bondage in Egypt, they say, when it happened to us, because it's supposed to be a collective memory that we are remembering the pain of our ancestors so that we are not detached from what could happen to us. When we talk about it as Black people, African Americans, we're often told, well, that was 200 years ago. That's effectively true, or 300 years ago, however you want to look at it. What we're trying to say and remember is we don't want to forget the fact that once we are descendants of people who were taken from a different land, had multiple tribes mixed. When people say, if you don't want to be here, go back to where you came from. The point of the problem is some of us literally come from so many different parts, we don't know where we could ever come from. So when people say we don't know why we have to talk about race, the problem is we were taken from a place, and we want to remember the fact that we are a bunch of different cultures within the continent of Africa. So it's not the same. We do need to have a real conversation about what we're feeling, and it would be very helpful if people would choose to listen to our experiences rather than to tell us how we feel, because the thing is, when you say, I don't know why we have to talk about race, I don't know why I have to go to a beach and
I just
watch.
want to interject one thing. I don't think I said I don't know why we have to talk about race. I think what my comments were is I don't believe that the map is driven by race. That's what I believe I said.
And I'm
I
telling
believe
you,
that
no.
the entire day was full of comments about race, and it was directed.
And I was clarifying that for you.
Yeah,
Is,
that's what I was trying to say.
It's
Yes.
common. It's a Black seat. No, what we're saying is it's an opportunity for us. It is not guaranteed that we will have that ability to just have a Black person in that seat, because Black people at one point had the right to vote, and then they didn't have the right to vote, and then they sporadically in some places had the right to vote, and then we got the right to vote again. And the same thing for women in the 1800s. Massachusetts, you could vote, but because men were dressing up as women to do it nefariously, they punished women, and then you couldn't get the right to vote again for over 100 years. So I'm saying is, I would never tell you as a woman, oh, get over that. That was 50 years ago. You can vote now. But what I'm saying, I wouldn't say it.
Yes, I understand, and I apologize if you think that I was demeaning or anything
it's not
about
an apology.
that. I was directing it all direct on the map, and that
I'm
I
going to
don't
be
think the
quiet
map
after
is
this.
racist.
I just want you to say is, I don't think this conversation was. I think sometimes people think when we're talking about this, we're saying you need to have white guilt. That's not what we're saying.
I don't.
What we're saying is, can you just listen to us without interruption?
I do.
And just
I
listen
think,
to
though,
our experiences.
that there's been some implications
and you're not doing that now.
on me.
Listen to
I
our
am.
experiences of being Americans.
Okay.
Because they are vastly different. And my best friend, who's my roommate, who's my grandmother, is 95, and she's been alive longer than she's been able to ever vote.
Wow.
And she knows what that felt like, just like she knows what it felt like to be called a negress by people when she went to Louisiana and Texas. So it is a painful memory. And it is something that we would just prefer people to listen to and not ask why we have to interject race. We haven't always been treated fairly, and it hasn't been 100 years that we've been treated fairly.
Yes.
It's been less than 100 years.
Yes, I think there was some misunderstanding in my testimony, if that is what you had heard from what I was saying. What I was saying is I don't believe that the map itself is racist, and which I meant from that, in my opinion, I didn't think that that needed to be directed toward a race. The entire day focused on that. That was my entire point on that. It's not negating what you have gone through and what your family has gone through in that. That's not anything of what I was trying to say. And if I did portray that to you, I apologize, because that was not what I was saying.
I was simply trying to let you know that what the point of it is. We should be able to talk about race whenever we choose to, if it's a whole day of it or if it's for 5 minutes of it, because of the fact
I still think we just aren't not like communicating well, because I'm not saying what you're thinking I'm saying.
If I may interject,
I appreciate it.
Please do.
If I may interject, I think no. I think we got it.
Okay.
No, and then I think that's great. This is what America is all about, having these robust conversations. So, you bet, Representative Manuel. Members, any